Hi, Catherine Lynch here. So today I'm going to go over how aspirin works, what happens when we take it, how it inhibits some certain functions, and what occurs when it's taken in the effects on all the pathways, and how it pretty much is a chain reaction throughout the whole body. Okay, so aspirin inhibits the functions of prostaglandins that are in our body. So, what are prostaglandins? So, when something is wrong within our bodies, prostaglandins are actually released from the tissues. So, what they do is they stimulate the hypothalamus to increase body temperature, which is why we have a fever if something is wrong. If we have a cold, not really a cold, if we have like a virus or a bacterial infection, stuff like that, our body will increase temperature to try and fight it off, and prostaglandins are what start that by signaling the hypothalamus to cause a temperature to rise. That also tells the immune cells in our body to cause inflammation. So when we have some swelling, or if we have really just anything that's inflamed, red, warm, swollen, that's due to prostaglandins being released, and it inflicts the immune response and the inflammatory response. It also Prostaglandins also sensitize the nerves, and they tell the brain that there's pain going on in the body. It also can vasoconstrict or dilate blood vessels. They clot the blood and produce mucus in the stomach. So aspirin is also called acetyl salicylate. Sorry. So it blocks access to active sites of the enzymes that convert um, arachidonate into prostaglandin H2. And because arachidonate is the precursor of other prostaglandins, and blocking it's because it's a precursor for prostaglandins, and because when we block this step using aspirin, it also affects many signaling pathways, which is what I just explained. Okay, so what occurs when we take aspirin? So aspirin actually modifies a key enzyme called cyclooxygenase. This enzyme is used to convert arachidonic acid into prostaglandin H2 to promote the body's inflammatory response and increase gastric secretion. So this is really at the cellular level what happens when we take aspirin, and how I explain that it affects different pathways. So the localization of the prostaglandin H2 synthase in the membrane is actually crucial to its function. So the prostaglandin H2 synthase catalyzes the conversion of the arachidonic acid into prostaglandin H2, and this is actually a two-step process that requires cyclooxygenase, or COX, or COX. And this activity and peroxidase activity. Sorry, I cannot talk today. So the arachidonic acid is a fatty acid that's generated by the hydrolysis of membrane lipids. So it actually moves from the nonpolar core of the lipid bilayer, and it activate to the active site of the enzyme. So it is like a channel it's traveling through a hydrophobic channel in the protein. So that is what the normal cellular response is. So when we take aspirin, aspirin works to inhibit the production of prostaglandins from the COX2 enzyme that I just explained before. So by doing this, it signals the nerves to stop sending pain responses to the brain, which is what I explained before. It also relieves pain, and it inhibits the inflammatory response. It decreases body temperature, and it also reduces clotting. So it is an irreversible modification of the enzyme, and because of this enzyme no longer functioning, then the body must actually make new enzymes. So that's why when we take aspirin, we have relief for a little bit, for a while, maybe a few hours, and then our body is constantly remaking these new proteins or enzymes, and then the pain kind of comes back, but then we just take it again. Our platelet cells, however, they actually can't make more proteins on their own, so they actually have to wait until entirely new cells are formed in order to function properly with the clotting mechanism. So we consider aspirin actually a blood thinner. So I actually have a lot of patients that take aspirin as a blood thinner for so they don't have blood clots for a lot of people that have poor circulation into their feet and they have like neuropathy and poor circulation. So I actually found that super interesting that I kind of learned how aspirin works and how it improves functioning. So the blood is thin because of the aspirin, and it actually lasts way longer because platelets take a while to recreate, or it takes longer to produce these proteins because they have to form a whole new cell entirely. So it actually thins the blood out for way longer than the 4 hours or so that you don't have pain. It actually will keep the blood thin for way longer than that. All right, so for my last slide, this is just how aspirin can it covalently deactivates the cyclooxygenase, or COX. So aspirin actually donates an acetyl group to the serine residue, which you can see here and here. And this actually lies along the pathway to the active site, and this blocks the channel. So when the channel is blocked, it inhibits the prostaglandins from producing, and then it inhibits pretty much everything that happens after that, like I said. So here we have, so it's covalently deactivated. So over here we can see a covalent bond over here. And there it is, and now it's inactive. So that is how aspirin works. Also, here is my source for some of my information, or most of my information.